From then on, for another half hour, Lake kept up a running fire of comment and expressed his intention of climbing some of the peaks on foot. I replied that I would soon join him, as soon as he could send a plane, and that Pabity and I would work out the best gasoline plan, just where and how to concentrate our supply in view of the expedition's altered character. Obviously, Lake's boring operations, as well as his airplane activities, would need a great deal delivered for the new base which he was to establish at the foot of the mountains. And it was possible that the eastward flight might not be made it after all this season. In connection with this business, I called Captain Douglas and asked him to get as much as possible out of the ships and up the barrier with a single dog team we had left there. A direct route across the unknown region between Lake and McMurdo Sound was what we really ought to establish. Lake called me later to say that he had decided to let the camp stay where Moulton's plane had been forced down, and where repairs had already been progressed somewhat. The ice sheet was very thin, with dark ground here and there visible, and he would sink some borings and blast at that very point before making any sledge trips or climbing expeditions. He spoke of the ineffable majesty of the whole scene and the queer state of his sensations of being in the lee of vast, silent pinnacles whose ranks shot up like a wall reaching the sky at the world's rim. Atwood's theodolite observations had placed the height of the tallest peaks from 30,000 to 34,000 feet. The windswept nature of this terrain clearly disturbed Lake, for it argued the occasional existence of prodigious gales violent beyond anything we had so far encountered. His camp lay a little more than 5 miles from where the highest foothills abruptly arose. I could almost trace a note of subconscious alarm in the words, flashed across the glacial void of 700 miles, as he urged that we all hasten with the matter to get the strange new region disposed of as soon as possible. He was about to rest now after a continuous day's work of almost unparalleled speed, strenuousness, and results. In the morning, I had a 3/4 wireless talk with Lake and Captain Douglas at their widely separated bases, and it was agreed that one of Lake's planes would come to my base for Pabity, the 5-mate, and myself, as well as for all the fuel it could carry. The rest of the fuel question, depending on our decision about an easterly trip, could wait a few days. Since Lake had enough for immediate camp heat and borings, eventually the old southern base ought to be restocked, but if we postpone the easterly trip, we would not use it until the next summer. And meanwhile, Lake must send a plane to explore a direct route between his new mountains and McMurdo Sound. Pabity and I prepared to close our base for a short or long period, as the case might be. If we wintered in the Antarctic, then we would probably fly straight from Lake's base to the Arkham without returning to the spot. Some of our conical tents had already been reinforced by blocks of hard snow, and we decided to complete the job and make a permanent Eskimo village. Owing to very liberal tent supplies, Lake had with him all his base would need for even our arrival. After our arrival, I wireless that Pabity and I would be ready for the northwestward move after 1 day's work and 1 night's rest. waves, however, were not very steady after 4 p.m. For about that time, Lake began sending in the most extraordinary and exciting messages. His working day had started unpropitiously, since an airplane survey of the nearly exposed rock surfaces showed an entire absence of those arcane and primordial strata from which he was looking, and which formed so great a part of the colossal peaks that loomed up in a tantalizing distance from the camp. Most of the rocks glimpsed were apparently Jurassic and Comanchean sandstones and Permian and Triassic schists, with now and then a glossy black outcropping suggesting a hard and slaty coal. This rather discouraged Lake, whose plans all hinged on unearthing specimens of more than 500 million years old. It was clear to him that in order to recover the arcane slate vein in which he had found the odd markings, he would have to make a long sledge trip from these foothills to the steep slopes of the gigantic mountains themselves. He had resolved, nevertheless, to do some more local boring as part of the expedition's general program. Hence, set up the drill and put 5 men to work with it, while the rest finished setting up the camp and repairing the damaged airplane. The softest visible rock, a sandstone of about a quarter of a mile from the camp, had been chosen for the first sampling, and the drill made excellent progress without much supplementary blasting. It was about 3 hours afterwards, following the first really heavy blast of the operation, that the shouting of the drill crew was heard, and that young Gedney, the acting foreman, rushed into camp with the startling news. They had struck a cave. Early in the boring, the sandstone had given place to the vein of Comanchean limestone full of minute fossil cephalopods, corals, echidnae, and Spirifera, and with occasional suggestions of siliceous sponges and marine vertebrate bones, the latter probably of teleos, sharks, and ganoids. The set itself was important enough as affording the first vertebrate fossils the expedition had yet secured, but when shortly afterward the drill had dropped it through the stratum in apparent vacancy, the wholly new and doubly intense wave of excitement spread among the excavators. A good-sized blast had laid open the subterranean secret. And now, through a jagged aperture, perhaps 5 feet across and 3 feet thick, there yawned before the avid searchers a section of shallow limestone, probably worn more than 50 million years ago by the trickling groundwaters of a bygone tropical world. The hollow layer was not more than 7 or 8 feet deep, but extended off indefinitely in all directions and had a fresh, slightly clean air, which suggested its membership in an extensive subterranean system. Its roof and floor were abundantly equipped with large stalactites and stalagmites, some of which met columnar form. What important above all else was the vast deposit of shells and bones which in place nearly choked the passage. Washed down from unknown jungles and Mesozoic tree ferns and fungi, and forests of tertiary cycads, fan palms, and primitive angiosperms, this osseous medley contained representatives of more creationist Ocene and of other animal species than the greatest paleontologists could have counted or classified in a year. mollusks, crustacean armor, fishes, amphibians, reptiles, birds, and early mammals, great and small, known and unknown. No wonder Gedney ran back to the camp shouting, and no wonder everyone else dropped work and rushed headlong through the biting cold to where the tall derrick marked the newfound gateway to secrets of inner earth and vanished eons. When Lake had satisfied the first keen edge of his curiosity, he scribbled a message in his notebook and had young Moulton run back to the camp to dispatch it by wireless. This was my first word of discovery, and it had told of identification of early shells, bones of ganoids and placoderms, remnants of labyrinthodonts and thecodonts, great mosasaur skull fragments, dinosaur vertebrae and armor plates, pterodactyl teeth and wing bones, Archaeopteryx debris, Miocene shark's teeth, primitive bird skulls and skulls, vertebrae and other bones of archaic mammals, such as Paleotheris, Sylphodons, Dinosaurus, Eohippie, Aerodons, and Titanotheres. There was nothing as recent as a mastodon, or elephant, true camel, deer, or bovine animal. Hence, Lake concluded that the last deposits had occurred during the Oligocene age, and that the hollowed stratum lay in its present dried, dead, and inaccessible state for at least 30 million years. On the other hand, the prevalence of very early life forms was singular in the highest degree. Although the limestone formation was on the evidence of such typical embedded fossils as ventriculites, positively unmistakably Comanchian and not a particle either. The free fragments in the hollow space included a surprising proportion from organisms hitherto considered as peculiar to far older periods, even rudimentary fishes, mollusks, and corals as remote as the Silurian or Ordovician.